This video is going to be about exporting your work for handing in and just for general sharing the work, right? So first I want to be in a saved state, right? I want to make sure that I have everything saved and that way, right, I'm not losing any changes. It'll actually cue you to hey, go save first. But we can do two things. First would be how do we send it to print in an easy way, right? Not to a press. And it's going to be a little different between a press. And I'm going to have you hand it in both ways because also then it helps me to, if I want to show you something on your work. Right? So it's as easy as just going to these Adobe PDF presets, right? And so for our purposes, it would be perfectly fine to pick high quality print or press quality. Either, there's not really a whole ton of difference between the two in my mind, right? So we go high quality print, we decide where is it going to go, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave it in this in the same folder that it's been the whole time. And now we get to this the options here, right? So again, like if you want to make sure it lays out as not as individual pages but as spreads, you make sure you change this to spreads. A lot of this stuff we don't really have to worry about. Really, most of this we don't have to worry about. We should worry a little bit about compression, right? Because remember, we want images to be 300 pixels per inch for printing, right? And so this will make sure that to ensure the file size is smaller. If you've laid out with this giant image and you've made it smaller and it doesn't, you've taken it and now you've essentially made it into a 600 DPI because you've made it smaller for the print size, this will go ahead and be smart enough to downsample your images, right? Marks and bleeds are actually really interesting and not for us in our class, but where you put in all the printer's marks and you can kind of see the registration bars, the crop marks, all different things. Again, we don't really care about that, right? We really don't have to click on any window other than when we have the default high quality print or press quality, other than deciding if we want pages or spreads. And since we're only doing single page things, it really is irrelevant. And we just click export, right? So I have a PDF now. It's saved right in my file here, right? And I can go to it, and what a lovely piece of work it is, right? But there's another thing that I'm going to ask you to do when you're handing in your work, right? And that's because I want all the pieces that you use to put together this, right? And for that we do package. So I'm going to click package, and what package is it's going to include all the images, the fonts, right? That's a big one, right? The fonts, because you're giving this to some printer to print. They may not have the font, right? So the licensing of fonts allows you to kind of give the fonts. Sometimes it's squirrely, but I think these days it's mostly there. You'll see I have like an exclamation point, right? That's because the image is in an RGB color space, right? You might want to convert your printing images to CMYK. Really, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it is a big deal because there are things that can be seen with RGB that can't be handled in CMYK. Remember, color, gamut, and space. But for our purposes, right, again, it's not a big deal, right? These things we really don't need to worry about too much for our purposes. Obviously, if you went further into design, you would. And we just click package, right? Now we could put in any kind of instructions in ours. We don't care about that either. And where are we going to put it? Doesn't really matter. You put it on your desktop. I'll just put it in the same folder that we've had. Blah, 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 yes. And that's telling you about the fonts and those things, right? So then you'd see it, right, and we've come to this project. With what it's created is this project one folder, right? And you'll see in it, it has the fonts that I used, which was Helvetica New, and the instructions for printing, any images that came there. It's got an InDesign version, and it's got even a PDF version, right? And so how I would hand it off to a printer is I would control click or right click on it, push compress my project, and there it is. That's what I would upload to Icon or I would hand to a printer.